This is Knowledge 1 Lesson 10. All stories are Anansi's. Long ago, there were no stories on earth. It was believed that all stories belonged to the sky god Niame, who kept the stories in a box beneath his throne. Because they had no stories to share, the people of the earth just sat around their campfires. One day, looking down from his web, Anansi the spider could see that the people were restless and bored. Anansi decided he would help bring them something which would make them happy and would help them pass the time. Anansi stretched his 8 legs and wove a wonderful web that reached all the way to the sky. He climbed up the web until he arrived at the throne of the sky god Niame, the keeper of all stories. "Niame," he said, "wise one, great god of the sky, will you let me have the great box where you keep the stories? I would like to take the stories to the people who live on the earth." "I will give you the box of stories," said Niame in a booming voice, "but the price is high. You must bring me 3 things. Anini, the great python who can swallow a goat. Osebo, the mighty leopard whose teeth are as sharp as spears. And Mboro, the hornet whose sting burns like a needle of fire." "I will pay the price," said Anansi. Anansi swung down back to earth on his web. He went to speak with his wife, Aso. Together they crafted a plan to capture Anini, the great python who could swallow a goat. The next morning, Anansi sneakily walked into the forest, waving a big branch and talking to himself. "She's wrong," he said, pretending to be very upset. "I know she is. He is much longer than this branch." And as Anansi approached the watering hole, a large snake rose up. It was Anini, the great python who can swallow a goat. "What are you muttering about, Anansi?" asked Anini. "You are disturbing my nap." "Oh, I have been quarreling with my wife," said Anansi. "She says that you are shorter than this branch, but I say you are longer. She will not listen to me, and I do not see how I can prove that I am right." That's easy," said Anini. "Lay your branch on the ground, and I will lie next to it. Then you shall see that I am longer." And so the great snake slithered over and lay next to Anansi's branch. "Well, it looks like you might be longer," said Anansi, still questioning. "But I can't tell for sure because you're not quite straightened out. Could I straighten you out a bit?" "Certainly," said Anini. "Here, let me fasten your tail at this end," said Anansi as he worked. "That way I can really straighten you out, and also here a little lower, and here by your head." And before the python realized what Anansi was up to, Anansi spun a web and used it to tie Anini to the branch. "Now you're caught," said Anansi. With that, Anansi carried Anini the python to Niame. That is 1 thing," said Niame in a loud, deep voice. 2 things remain." Anansi went back to earth and began to strategize how he would catch Osebo, the mighty leopard with teeth as sharp as spears. He dug a deep hole in the path Osebo used to get the watering hole. He laid branches across the hole and covered the branches with sticks and leaves and dirt. When Anansi was satisfied that the hole was well hidden, he scurried home and went to sleep. When Osebo came out to hunt during the night, he fell right into Anansi's trap. Anansi found him down in the hole the next morning. "Osebo," said Anansi, "what are you doing down in that hole?"
You fool, said Osebo. Can't you see that I've fallen into a trap? You must help get me out.
I'll see what I can do, said Anansi. So Anansi found a large willow tree and bent the top of the tree over the pit. He spun 2 silky cords and used them to fasten the tree. Then he spun another silky cord and attached it to the top of the tree. This 3rd cord dangled down into the pit. Okay, tie your cord to your tail, said Anansi, and then I will lift you up. Osebo tied the web to his tail. Anansi cut the cords that were holding the tree down. The tree sprang back up to its original position, carrying Osebo with it. Osebo dangled from the tree, tangled up in Anansi's webwork. Now you're caught, said Anansi. Anansi tightly tied the ends of the web and dragged Osebo the leopard to Niame. Now the sky god was impressed.
Well, that is 2 things, said Niame. Only 1 thing remains.
So Anansi went back to earth to catch Mboro, the hornet whose sting burned like a needle of fire. He cut a gourd from a vine and hollowed out the inside. Then he filled the gourd with water and went to the nest where Mboro, the hornet, made his home. Anansi poured some of the water in the gourd over his own head. Then he dumped the rest of the water onto the hornet's nest. Mboro, the hornet, came out, buzzing angrily. He saw Anansi standing nearby, holding a leaf over his head. "Oh my," said Anansi. "The rainy season seems to have come early this year, and it looks like you have no shelter from the rain. Why don't you take shelter in my gourd until the rain goes away?" Thank you, Anansi," said Mboro the hornet as he flew into the gourd. "You're welcome," said Anansi as he closed up the opening in the gourd with his leaf and fastened the leaf with his finest, most intricately laced web yet. "Now you're caught," said Anansi. Anansi proudly carried Mboro the hornet to Niame.
"That is the last thing," proclaimed Niame. "You have succeeded, Anansi, where many before you have failed. You have paid the price." Then Niame called out in a voice like thunder, "Listen to me! Anansi has paid the price for the stories of the sky god, and I do hereby give the stories to him. From this day forward, all the stories belong to Anansi. Whenever someone tells one of these stories, he must acknowledge that it is Anansi's tale." Anansi took the box of stories back to Earth and shared them with the people. They were grateful for the stories and told them over and over to their children and to their children's children, who told them to their children, and so on. And even to this day, these stories are known as spider stories. Can you guess what word all 3 of these pictures have in common? Company. Can you think what these 3 pictures have in common? Rock. And what word can go with both of these pictures? Missing. Yes, the batter is missing, and she's missing a tooth. And what word goes with these two pictures? How about rest? Like the rest of the cake, and the girl is trying to rest.